composition. So it's the same thing, repetitive, over and over again, with small variations of it. So this, you can attest yourself to me, like going down an entrance or like a huge promenade walkway. It's kind of this repetitive motion. So you do little movements throughout. And then this more visual. And then this would be, I guess, the rondo effect, where everything A, B, A, C, A, B, so that everything's a different step. So you're constantly moving along this spatiality. So I guess
you're done, Josh.
Yeah. That was continue. Go.
Craig, what do you have to say about this work that Josh somehow came up with over the weekend?
This came from trying to explore what is really architecture.
This is good stuff for Josh. This is where Josh wants to be. So let's forget.
This really has nothing to do with that.
Let's forget what Josh has presented for the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's kind of
this is week 3. He's a little late to the party, but fashionably late for sure. For sure, fashionably late.
Wouldn't really be the solar game. It wouldn't be change the season.
What's with the Google, huh? Are you going stalking?
Moscow.
No. I think that's. I mean, well.
I
would say literally like this is like accepting the random. This is more so stimulating the random with ideas. This is exploring the
You can't
random.
even say that because it's like, how many, who's the fastest meta tagger out in, some country. Some guy at MIT writes a meta tagging code, and all of a sudden you search Guggenheim, Frank Lloyd Wright, White, and you get all like some specific images, right? So you're already kind of not really using that term. Right, like here you have like a completely quantified, qualified method of working, right? It's rough, but you definitely have a ton of stuff to work with, right? That you have total control over. This, all you have this control over is like the first 3 words that you put in, right? So it comes out afterwards.
This is more so just showing how we start to investigate information. I wanted to make this correlation of these images to this final piece that I got to, with you basically ciphering through things to start pulling out.
You're kind of going with like this stall, right?
This is, they're not related.
This one?
That stuff and stuff at the end's not related. Like I know you're making
Maybe I was portrayed it.
But he's sitting with some sort of kind of materialistic process or process-based work, qualification and quantification, and trying to back it up to some sort of kind of critical idea about the future.
I don't see like why does that dead?
You want to be looking at the primitive manipulations of that.
Yeah. And
I'm saying
the
lose that
primitive
stuff.
thing is where I have these here as kind of placeholders.
Yeah.
But like, what is the thing being broke up? That's the primitive part.
Well, no, I mean you're there. You just got to understand what the primitive manipulation is about and working in primitives.
Yeah, because it all starts from like the first generative
Right, and then it spawns,
fragmentation.
right? It spawns in, and then how you edit that spawn,
Yeah.
how you cross-reference, how you qualify that stuff. That stuff from that. It's a completely different working method than saying, here's what I want to design, and I'm going to work it out.
Yeah.
You're okay with just not knowing where the design is going to end.
Yeah.
Other people are like, no, I need to know that it looks like this, so I'm going to design it like this.
Yeah.
Right? So we got to
And that's why
understand
I
what that
kind of
process
classified it
is
as
about.
like a deconstruct, like rationalizing a deconstructor's method. You know, it's very, I mean, it's very non-linear. It's cyclical, you know.
There's reasons, just brand new.
Whereas some architects and designers, they like you said, they have a finished product. What do I need to do in order to get that finished product? This has no finish, and that's where I was kind of going with this. Is when is it finished? You know, you can keep introducing new levels and layers and layers. So at some point you have to.
But you don't want it to be just a range of different archetypes of how a group should look in this latitude, and it gets into
What else?
historical. It touches on all this other stuff that just being site-specific. When it's site-specific, meaning you're not
That
taking
thing
just
going.
completely historical cultural context. Hence the reason going back, why wouldn't it be, maybe it's,
Here.
maybe wanted to study it well, because of society.
What this process was, what led you to that?
The basis of it was just who I'm interested in, and when I go to the library, what books I check out. And it kind of goes back to the lineage that I had up a couple weeks ago, the names on the board. I had them on the board, not specifically knowing their entire, I didn't know holistically what it was all about. So investigating it more, these ideas started to kind of spill themselves out on the paper. So I guess there's not one single thing, but a multitude of things that kind of
But
jump
he
out.
hasn't isolated econ as a process, he's just isolated it as a jumping off point. His process is a primitive process. Primitive manipulations, variables, you know, quantifying and qualifying. He can insert anything he wants into that kind of methodology of working. Right? So he's like really firing on methodology right now. Right? He has an interest in learning stuff that he didn't preconceive. He's got a way to do that. He's got a way to kind of insert information and take out information as needed.
It's really kind of a fun, like, interesting process because it's for the last like 3-4 years it's been in studio specifically we get programs, you know, and they're like, you need to build a fire station, you need to build this. So it's been so systematic in a sense that this is kind of a really cool exploration to have really no idea where it's going to go, but start setting up methods to get there. So
That's kind of one of my biggest questions, is going back to this whole randomness thing, would you, as a designer, not knowing where you're going to go, or where you're going to end up?
well, I think it has a broad sense of a program. Like there's going to be a site, obviously. That you have to fit into a site. You have to hit all your checkpoints.
I mean, right now he has endless variables. But at some point he's going to have a series of variables, right? Like he's already said, I've selected these lines, I've selected these paintings, you know, I've selected a specific landscape Cartesian grid kind of layout and organize it. I mean, he's already kind of introducing variables, but I mean, that's, he'll make those decisions as like, that's what you design. You design the process, and design the decisions and the questions.
So, but I mean, so it's like you want to construe your site to really show what you're.
So what do we do now? Like, well, man, you got some great stuff here. Like, you gotta like get on some like graphic design blogs. You get the fonts proper and the kind of layouts proper and stuff like that. Because the last thing that I want to see is your kind of presentation be toned down because of.
Yeah, I think it has like a graphic that'll speak just as much as the process. In my mind, I see like a mechanical type process. I don't know if that fits specifically, but like I see.
We'll find that hybrid.
You know what I
We'll
mean?
figure it out. We'll find the right drawings. We'll find the right kind of way. We'll get the right kind
Yeah,
of
the way you
curation.
express it is it has to fit with the presentation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
You're asking about.
I mean, I want it to fit. More so, I want it to fit with you than the presentation.
Because of your
Are you guys seeing this connection with the space share? How you like organizing spaces one after another from these random pieces?
But like, so you have the random pieces and then you have the spatial organization. How are you seeing it? Are those two things connected? Other than just the image?
I think they, no, well, these, yes, I think they have to be in order to fit together. I mean, it's like Tetris so much, you know what I mean? You can't put I don't know, if a design calls for something longitudinal, you can't stick a vertical element, you know what I mean? So you have to, you kind of selectively go through and
but you
pick
have
out
all, you
what
have
could
all
go in.
three, you have three degree objects, and you have unrolled
Really
surface.
choosing a site, what way
Every
it sets
single
up.
one of those freaking objects is bled 3 times over.
And this goes,
Are those things like the scale of a quarter? Are those things the size of a room? Or are those things the size of a building?
That's another variable is the scale. Like
That's the hardest problem we're dealing with right now. Or some of this work is the scale issue,
yeah.
right? Like if you want to like get into it, like get on the front line and get your knife out and start getting into some hand-to-hand combat. It's the hardest thing is the scale problem in contemporary architecture with this digital work. How does the thing scale up? How does it scale down? Does it scale? When does it scale? When doesn't it scale?
Yeah, and I was reading that in a lot of the books is the way it looks on paper, or the way it looks inside the computer is totally different from when it's actually built. The spatial relations change, and your sense changes a lot. So there wasn't really any road that told you what to do to change to make that better, but it was just kind of a warning to say, watch out for this.
That's your job now.
It could very easily derail itself, and you've created this cavity that is not even going toward what you were trying to pull out of it. But
Are you happy with this stuff?
I'm very happy. I actually had this done last night, printed out because I was super stoked to start talking about it. Whereas most of the time I'm printing out today.
So those objects, you just like kind of yank those things around in Photoshop. Did you go
Yeah.
to the computer and design those objects the way they were if you wanted to design them that way?
That's what I think going forward, going next, I would have to discover, there's definitely one out there, but I'd have to discover and utilize a generated program that can start making these crazy shapes or intersecting 2 objects in one through this, because if it intersects in one plane, it's only going to get one cut. But if you space it out like that, make it 3D, now when this goes in and turns, it's going to cut every way throughout. But I need a computer program that would generatively do that, and then use those pieces.
Generatively do that.
Like I want this piece, and I want to throw this one on, and it will shear right through it. And now I want to take those pieces.
That's a
off.
simple Boolean command, man.
Like, there you go. See, I didn't even know.
That's a simple Boolean in Rhino. Well, the command is simple, but you'll probably have a bunch of objects layered on top of each other, so it's gonna be a little bit.
I'm not that versed in Rhino, so I'd have to go into Rhino and start YouTubing the shit out of it.
On it. That's not even too big. It's just a solid one.
No, I'm saying like YouTube tutorials.
Yeah.
Just boom, boom, boom.
I mean, this is the thing is that I'm glad you kind of established this mode into this methodology. And we could have another hour-and-a-half conversation on 5 different directions out of this thing, which we need to have.
Every 20 years.
And I'm glad that you've kind of inserted yourself in a lineage, right? I'd like you to kind of understand or at least present some of that lineage at another time. Like you gotta kind of understand that a little bit, where it's come from, where you're critical of it, where you think it's going, and then we need to get your position on architecture. And then we can figure some of this other stuff out. Because if we don't have your position on architecture, we can't really make a decision, even just within a simple idea about that. It's like, what are we running the Boolean against?
Yeah.
Are we running it against space? Are we running it against surface? Are we running it against a program? How do we qualify and quantify them? Those lines that you're abstracting, are those just random lines, or are they like proportional to bacon?
No, they were random for this presentation purposes.
The more specific
just
you
to like
get,
spit the idea out.
no, for sure, but the more, it comes through. But the more specific you get, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah.
Right? And that specificity, the little specificities, manipulated, add up to a ton of complexity. Right? Because when we try to go through and we were to model all these things out, say we were to take all those objects, we model all those blended objects out, we put it with some Booleans, we try to Boolean together, dude, you do not want to edit complexity. You want to generate complexity, but you do not want to be the guy that edits it.
You got a personal response to why you're investing.
It's a lot better now.
And I think everyone's doing right direction. You gotta make sure
Anybody got any questions for John?
that
Questions,
way
clarification?
Presenting, it just takes off that, as a presenter.
I just